Hey everyone, it's Dave here with a look at Battlefield 1. So we're still waiting on PlayStation 4 code, but we've been taking a look at the Xbox One release and I think you'll find the results rather interesting. So with previous Frostbite titles on consoles then, we usually see a 900p resolution on PlayStation 4, whereas Xbox One this gets knocked down to 720p. But things are different with Battlefield 1. How so? Well, interestingly, our initial pixel counts on Xbox One came in at around 900p. Yeah, the game appears sharper than previous Frostbite installments, but at the same time, it still has a distinctly soft appearance. But here's where things get really interesting. While we actually see 900p at the center of the image, when looking at the top and bottom, we were confronted with some rather odd artifacts. Take a close look here and we see clear horizontal lines going across the length of the screen. It almost looks like there's tearing, but that isn't actually the case. So just what is going on here? Well, if we look carefully, we actually see the game running utilizing a dynamic resolution. So that means some scenes play out 900p, whereas more demanding moments we see pixel counts lowered to around 720p. And naturally this can fluctuate in more subtle increments. Now in terms of these odd artifacts, we're not exactly sure what's going on here. Perhaps the dynamic resolution is what's causing them. It's worth pointing out that they are visible on the top, bottom and sides of the screen, but it's only something you can really spot when zooming right up close to the image. In gameplay it's not an issue, and for the most part resolution actually appears pretty consistent. It's a soft presentation overall that can look, well, a little murkier at times than others. In any case, DICE's decision to utilise a dynamic resolution is actually a really clever one. Essentially, when the GPU isn't being taxed, we get to see higher pixel counts and thus a sharper presentation than in, say, previous Frostbite games, whereas when the engine is under load, pixel count can be reduced in increments, thus allowing the engine to better hold 60 frames per second. And indeed, as you can see here, the impact on performance is actually pretty minimal. For the most part, we're actually looking at solid 60 frames per second even when there's a lot going on. Explosions, particle effects, multiple light sources. Generally speaking, we only get occasional small dips in performance. Now when things get a bit more hectic and we start blowing up buildings with a tank, then we see metrics drop down into the, say, low 50s, but this doesn't actually happen that often. Performance is also slightly impacted when various HUD elements appears on screen, such as the mission complete message, but outside of that the experience is generally smooth and performance really isn't a problem. And on top of that we're actually getting a boost in resolution over previous Frostbite titles too, which is nice to see. Anyway, it's pretty interesting stuff and we look forward to seeing exactly how the game shapes up on PlayStation 4. But that's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed this analysis, then don't forget to give us a like, and if you want to support Digital's Foundry, make sure you subscribe too. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.